Welcome to the Luna Holistic Podcast. I'm your host, Geneva Robbins, and every month on this podcast, we'll talk about Reiki, as well as answering your questions on all things spiritual. We are gratefully located in Calgary in Treaty 7 territory. Thank you all and welcome to the show. Hello and welcome to the Luna Holistic Podcast. My name's Geneva Robbins, and today I have Kyla Shepherd with me. Say hi, Kyla.
Hey, everyone. It's great to be here.
Good to have you. Kyla is a Reiki master here at Luna Holistic, and we are on the topic of what does self-kindness look like this episode. So thank you all for being here. Kindness is one of those things that we talk about a lot in Reiki because it is one of the Reiki ideals or Reiki principles, which is sort of the bedrock foundation of all the work we do to connect to this universal life force healing energy. And kindness and compassion, you can kind of think of them in the similar vein, are a requirement of doing this work. But it's it's also a requirement of living, I would say. Would you
Yes.
agree? Yeah.
Yes.
Whether you do Reiki or not, whether you're into this stuff or not, kindness, I think, is just a human right and is something that we can easily acknowledge in other people. Chances are, if you're listening to this, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, you are a kind person. I'm just going to go way out on a limb and guess that you're kind if you're drawn to listening about Reiki. And one thing I've noticed with very, very kind, empathic people is that you are exceptionally kind, patient, understanding of other people, and excruciatingly difficult with your own self. Yes?
That has been my personal experience. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And we talk to ourselves in a manner that we would never in a million years think of talking to anybody else. And so that inner critic voice can be really, really loud. It gets that way for lots of different reasons. It's sort of a terrible background racket that keeps on, that a noise in the background that keeps on humming until we do the inner work to bring it to stillness. And there's lots and lots of tools to make space for inner kindness or that gentleness, showing yourself that care and self love that you naturally bring to other people. So that's where we're going to jump into. But before we get rolling, we're going to start with our collective breath of gratitude, our little mini meditation. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. Keep your eyes open. Maybe pull over. I don't know. Safety first. I'm always on safety alert.
Yes.
Which is a very kind thing to do.
A very kind thing.
Is to be attentive while you're driving. And if you're not, and you have a moment where you can be still or go inward, even if you want to keep your eyes open, that's okay. See if you can bring a soft gaze to whatever you're looking at. Otherwise, you can close your eyes and take a few deeper breaths. And just take a gentle breath of space and openness and flow. And let that energy connect down through your sit bones, down through your feet. Just bring your awareness to your feet, to what you're sitting on. Just feeling the direction of gravity. Maybe even noticing the textures of fabric. Just noticing what's touching your physical body right now. and bring an awareness to the energy deep within the earth, a nurturing, ancient, supportive, and kind, generous energy that only provides love, acceptance, and belonging. And just take a big sigh of relief into this wise energy. And just send a wave of gratitude deep into the earth, spreading out all around you in all directions, honoring all the beings that share this spot on the globe with you, the trees and plants, insects and birds and animals, fish, and all of the creatures that are part of this living world. And you among all of them, equally worthy of all that love, all that grace. And as you send out a wave of gratitude, know that that energy is returning to you. So each breath is a wave of sending out gratitude and receiving gratitude, sending out kindness and receiving kindness. Let's take another big sigh of relief. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Ah, yay. How'd that go for you, Kyla?
That was so lovely. Thank you. I love that grounding and reconnection with the earth. And even when our podcast isn't live and people listen at all different times, I love that feeling of even a little micro meditation together, because our group meditation is so powerful. And that feeling of people putting that kindness and gratitude out there is just so
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's sometimes part of this is that, where does the opposite of kindness come from in our brains? It's because we've been exposed to harsh outer critics. We've listened to people around us criticize themselves. It gets put into our brains at a very young age.
Or
Um,
constantly criticize others so then it gets
constantly
internalized.
criticizing themselves, criticizing other people, criticizing you. There's lots of bullies out there in many forms. Sometimes those bullies live in your family. Sometimes you find them on the street. Sometimes they're in positions of power in world governments. All right. you know, so we can kind of get bombarded by outer forms of unkindness, which maybe is just part of the ride of a human existence, is that there's varieties of ways of being in the world. The tricky part, and what I find is the most damaging for many people, is because you can get away from an outer world bully most of the time. Once you get old enough and you have enough agency, you can navigate away from the people who are unkind to you and and learn how to say no and set boundaries. It is very difficult to navigate away. You can't move across town from your inner bully, the inner critic. It just travels with you. So the tools to bring that inner kindness, I find are really like the lifesaver for me. Like it's made the biggest shift in my own life. And what's been interesting to me is that as I do the work to bring more and more inner kindness and being gentle and showing myself care and love and putting myself at least on an equal footing with other people, what I find is that I am exposed to far less of the outer world critic. And even if I am, it just sort of bounces off. It doesn't land or take me out or take me down nearly the same way it used to maybe, a couple of decades ago, which is great. So,
Mhm.
because I'm not saying the mean, hurtful thing to myself, then even if people are unkind to me, I just see it as them. It's their issue, not my issue. And I'm always operating in a atmosphere of trying to be kind and fair and connected and, just do my best as a human being. Not perfect for sure, but bringing that compassion and kindness inside and outside. And what I find is that it's shifted profoundly my inner state. And it also has shifted the people that are around me. So I find, maybe when I was in, school and junior high, I was definitely surrounded by not very many kind people. And now I would say the majority of people, or if not almost every single person I encounter on a daily basis, like and just living, are kind, wonderful, giving people. And see that as a reflection of my inner work. And if I am around people who are not nice to me, then I still offer them kindness, which also can be clear boundaries. It's
Yes.
so part of kindness. Sometimes we think of kindness as being like gentle and squishy and just being nice. And it's like, no, kindness isn't being nice. Kindness is being clear and protecting, what is vulnerable. Setting boundaries is part of kindness and compassion. And I always think of it as like when things get imbalanced, that's when there's strain. So if you're so kind to other people, but not kind internally, that's an imbalance. Or if it's the other way where you're like only taking care of your own needs and not paying attention to anyone else's, that's also an imbalance. And somewhere in the middle is finding that, compassionate stance and taking action from that clear space. Yeah. Uh, how does that sit with you, Kyla? What's been your experience with self kindness?
That resonates a lot with me. And one of the things I was thinking about when you were sharing that is that the other aspect of bringing more kindness and practicing more kindness to yourself with that inner critic is that part of, for me, I have a long journey to go with it, but I have come a long way too. And when there's bullies and unkind people out there, the more you are gradually practicing your inner self kindness. I think when you were talking about it not affecting you as much and kind of bouncing off, what it made me think of is that you don't necessarily believe it as much anymore, which is a big aspect to why you over time are able
Mhm.
to let it roll off your back or not feel it as much or not take it as
Mhm.
personally because then you don't believe them. You have already started to change your inner tapes and what you say. You're always working on it. You're
Yeah.
working on your worthiness and you're working on your beliefs about yourself. So when people say things like that to you, you gradually become more and more in a place of that's not true. I don't believe that about myself. So you're not going to take it
Mhm.
in and add it to your inner critic tape. Whereas for many, many years, I just kept adding more and more of those statements to my inner critic tape
Yeah.
as things that I believed because I didn't believe anything kind about myself. I had no idea what that even
Mhm.
was or where to even start. I had no
Yeah.
concept of it at all.
I wonder too, like, I'm curious about your thoughts on this. Is, is that inner kindness also the start of having healthy boundaries?
Yes, I think for me it definitely was. It You had mentioned that to me, and I'm sure it came up in some things I read too, many times in all the Reiki sessions that we've done. It's been integrating for me at deeper and deeper levels all the time,
Mhm.
and connecting that, because when I first heard that, it was very startling in a way. Like, that hadn't occurred to me at all.
Mhm.
But I boundaries had never really been a thing for me either. I've been working on that over time too. So it was this awareness of, oh, I'm not being kind enough to myself. And oh, I can have boundaries. And oh, boundaries are actually kind as well. Just this series of shocking
Yeah.
revelations.
Yeah, saying no to people and disappointing them is a kind thing. Because if you know it's not right for you and you're an intuitive, sensitive person, then how can it possibly be right for them?
Yes,
And so
exactly.
saying yes when you know it's a no, it binds you both in this like tension. And maybe that person is getting their need met temporarily, but if you're in it in that engaged with them and you're feeling resentment, that's what you're leaving in this space of that relationship is resentment. I'm here and I don't want to be. I'm here and I'm exhausted. I'm using up the last of my precious resources and time in a space I don't want to be. And
Mhm.
some people have really sensitive bodies and they get sick. Like they can feel the tension in their body and it translates into like an energy that you don't you don't want to have for too long because it's depleting. It's exhausting,
It's very
right? So I
exhausting.
think it's like when people are always feeling so drained, sometimes it's like either you're absorbing other people's energy or you're not saying no enough, right? Like
Hmm.
you're um overgiving and not showing yourself the same level of kindness as what you're expressing to other people, which
Hmm.
to me is like that's not true kindness. If it's not equal inside and out, then it's not genuine. And
That might be,
it's not stable either.
y- yes. And it might be trying to be, you're trying to be kind, but you're actually being nice.
Mhm.
And I have felt for quite a long time now that they are being kind and being nice are completely different. I don't
Yeah.
really want to be nice anymore, to be honest. I just want to be kind. Just
Yeah.
a lot too nice. And it can be,
Mhm.
for a lot of us, just lead to people pleasing because you're always trying to be nice. So you don't say no and you don't send the boundary. But
Yeah.
kindness is the opposite of that. It's not trying to people please and just be nice and just do the
Yeah.
thing that everybody wants you to do, because we
Yeah.
do we are limited beings with our time and resources and finances and everything. There's only so
Yeah.
much we can do, and we have to prioritize, and kindness is prioritizing what we need with what other people need in that balance.
Yeah. Part of that is like navigating the inevitable conflict, right? Like somebody wants you to do something and you don't want to do it or you want to do something different. And so relationships you're always having to navigate like these differing levels of needs and wants and being able to express and talk about like, oh, you need this and I need that. We're going two different directions and making choices about that. I think sometimes people will get locked in. I know for myself, I'll just talk about myself, that in the past I really got locked into like not disappointing people who I know would explode. You know, like
Mhm.
like I wasn't actually I wasn't being clear and I wasn't being truly kind because I knew and know would lead to them losing it on me. And so all I
Yes.
was doing, so it was like it looks like people pleasing, but really it's like it feels like people management.
Yes.
Right? I'm just trying to manage the situation because I know if I say even the smallest no, there's going to be a whole bunch of energy projected at me. And so I would rather, for years, I would rather just take the hit and suppress my own needs to the point where I didn't even know what I liked anymore.
Mm,
Right? When
mhm.
it's like, what do you, just the simplest thing, like, where do you want to go for dinner? I'm like, I don't know. Where do you want to go? What movie do you want to see? Right? Like, I want to be as agreeable as possible because it's just making my life easier. But it's not making my life easier because it's creating so much tension in me because I'm not caring for my own self and my own energy. And reversing that was difficult. And so sometimes when you say small no's to people, even in a kind way, they leave your life, sometimes in a spectacular way. And I now, from where I sit now, it's like the it actually ends up being a great thing in the long run. It's hurts in the moment, but in the long run, anybody who leaves your life when you set a clear boundary that's based in love and kindness and what's fair, it kind of tells you more about them than it does about you. And what I've noticed is that when I have really tuned in of like what's the truly kind response here and I always strive to say things clearly and in a way that lifts people up, but it's still a no, right? Like, and what I find is that over time, I've started the relationships that were explosive in that way have faded away. And what has drawn towards me and the majority, or pretty much the entirety of my relationships in all aspects of my life, are all really mutually kind people in connection with each other. And being around, like, it's so refreshing to be around people who actually appreciate those conversations and appreciate knowing where your boundaries are and understand that life is a collaborative journey, right? You're doing this and I'm doing that. And is there a third thing we can figure out together? Right? Like that kind of energy is very nice, and it's very sweet to be in that frequency. But I think for me is like the only reason I got here is because I did the inner work to fall in love with myself and be my own best friend, right? Like a lot of it was like the tools I used is, you know, Reiki, doing self healing, meditation, a lot of affirmations, catching negative thoughts and flipping them into their exact opposite. Those are kind of things that I do. And if my inner critic would get really loud, then I think of it as like maybe shifting to the positive is really hard to do if it's really beating you up. So what I do is I think of like shifting into neutral is like humans are worthy of love and belonging.
Yeah.
I am a human being. Therefore, I am worthy of love and belonging,
Just a
right?
tiny baby step. Yeah.
Yeah. Or all little babies are lovable. I was once a little baby. Therefore, a part of me is still that lovable, right? Like you sort
Yeah.
of take a statement that you know to be true and you're part of that group. So therefore you get that all that good stuff too, right?
Mhm.
So it's and I think that's part of it is that, the basis of compassion is what we share. What do we have in common? And and if you think of like, oh, every person in the world, all beings are worthy of love and transformation and support and connection. And I'm one of those people, and sometimes it's like if we could even I used to also practice like, well, if I could be as nice to other people or talk as sweetly to other people as I talk to myself that same way, or if I had an issue, I'd be like, what would I tell a friend? You know, what would I recommend to a friend right now? And it's very radically different from what the inner critic can do. So yeah, those are some of the tools I've used, along with like just being physically kind. Like, can I show myself a kind action? And that's where the gentleness comes in, a little bit of comfort, a little bit of support, a little bit of coziness. If I'm cold, then I'll put on a sweater. If I'm wearing something scratchy, I'll put on something soft. Um, you know, if I it, if I need a shower, I'll take a shower, right? Is like just the tiniest little acts of self-care. Is like I know I always feel better when I do this, right? And then I'll just go do a little bit of that, even if it's just a few seconds. I know I always feel better when I meditate. So I'm just going to meditate a little bit. I know I always feel better when I do art or I write or journal. So I'm going to do just like 5 minutes of that. And showing myself those acts of kindness, I think they build up over time. And I would like write affirmations and like kind of cheer myself on like a cheerleader, like, "You got this, you're doing so great." You know? And that is just it's like and it's real, like it's building yourself up and it's something that I find, inner kindness, you can see it in outer world kindness, but also I think it increases your ability to express that kindness and compassion to other people because
Yeah.
then you're not in a reactive state and reacting from old wounds or, oh, the last time this happened, I was hurt. So I'm going to like lash out before I even think about it. You know, I find it makes me less like twitchy, and like and I give people more grace. I give them more space and I also put less pressure on them to to be anywhere other than they are. If they're having a bad day, they can have a bad day and I can have a bad day too and I can nurture myself through those big feelings and I can respect what is happening over there and then we can talk about it after. There's a lot more give in those like dynamics with other people and that's because I've given myself that same grace and space inside me. So it's a skill I've practiced, you know. And so when people are having a bad day and they say things they didn't mean, it's like, "Oh, well, I've done that inside. I know, like, I I can relate." It's like, now we
Mhm.
can patch it up, right? Like, we can
Yeah.
rebuild. But, yeah. How about you? What have you found that's helped you with your inner kindness?
Well, one of the last things you said in particular, all of those things also for me, but it's all about practicing and reminding myself that it's practicing and it's skill building.
Mm,
As with, for some of us, emotional regulation, who didn't learn that or witness it growing up? And all of these things, it's actually almost anything we do, I realize more and more, inside or out, is a skill, as you've said, that can be practiced. So,
mhm,
one aspect of dealing with the inner critic is kind of trying to just gradually remind yourself that you're practicing and it builds over time and where you're at is okay. So, while most of us who are very empathetic and kind listening to this or coming
mhm,
to do Reiki are usually very kind to other people and not as much to ourselves. sometimes I have found for myself when I'm in a place of great pain and hurt that I have struggled with kindness inside and out. And
Mhm.
then my shame gremlins get me coming and going,
Mhm.
but more so for not being kind enough to others. Because if
Mhm.
I'm such a sensitive and kind person, then how can I not be kind to others? So,
Mhm.
starting where you're at, being okay if you feel you're not being kind externally or internally, that's okay.
Mhm.
It's just about baby steps. And along with practicing, I we maybe all want to get to a place where we're trying to phrase things as kindly as we can for boundaries, saying no in the most uplifting way possible. But at the beginning, or if you're in a high conflict, high pain situation, it's probably not going to come out like that at first. And what the kindness will look like is you being gentle and giving yourself a lot of grace for gradually becoming less reactive. And maybe even saying the boundary in the first place, even if it came out very raw, very feeling unkind, very angry, because it's okay to be angry that your boundaries are crossed. And
Mhm.
practicing little bits of kindness in that way first, because for me, a lot of times those have been the baby steps. And Reiki has been, as with you, enormous. It just helps me process so much that for any human, but I think particularly for very sensitive humans, this is
Mhm.
a lot of energy to process by ourselves just with our bodies. No
Yeah.
matter how much we're exercising or anything, it's all just a lot to process. And Reiki comes in, it's this powerful and it helps me process it and clear it. And that can and it also just puts me in this bubble of divine universal love that sometimes when you're in great anger or great pain, you almost forget like what that feels like because your grief or your pain or your anger is so much, it's so overwhelming, and your body can't process it because you're so
Yeah.
maxed. So you're so maxed. So if you have
Yeah.
something like meditation or Reiki that can help you process it and bring you back down, even to a baseline, so that even if you start to climb back up again, it brings you back down for a while and grounds you. That has that's huge for me.
Yeah.
And the other aspect of Reiki is that it brings me to connection with other people,
Mhm.
which provides help and support to do it because it's a lot to do it all on our own and practice these
Yeah.
skills and build these skills.
And if you've been around people who have gaslighted you and made it sound like everything's all your fault and you're not sure which way is up, and, it's like, I find it's really reassuring when I get a session to say, like, this happened. Am I seeing this right? So going to people who are like
Yeah.
professionally kind, like their job is
Yeah.
kindness. So, like, Reiki, going to good therapist, reaching out to people who are supportive, who love you a lot and will give you a good, clear third perspective, right? Um,
Yes.
that's always really useful. And then I find with Reiki, it is unconditionally loving. And so it puts us in that frequency of ultimate kindness. And when we're in that space, it's much easier to entertain this notion of like extending kindness to yourself and some forgiveness and compassion and grace for other people and the whole situation, and just giving yourself a moment to just not even think about any of it, right? Because
Yes.
our minds can just go around and around and around and not get anywhere. And sometimes with Reiki, it's like, well, let's just pause that and bring in some energy to soothe everything and regulate a little bit and ground. And then when you come back to it, sometimes the solution pops in. It's like, oh, I know when I tune into my core, this is what really needs to happen. even if it's going to be difficult, like this is the best love. This is the path of love, you know,
Yeah, you get
and
clarity.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And when it's also balancing your own needs with other people's needs, I think it's really important to kind of keep in mind is like the only people you're actually responsible for are the ones that you're responsible for on paper, which is yourself, children, dependents in your care, and pets. That's it. Other
Yep.
adults are responsible for themselves and their beings, right? Like,
Yep.
and it is in that order. You have to be kind and nurturing to yourself because if you aren't, all of those people and beings that are depending on you are going to suffer, right? And that's another piece of it is, that, children learn by example. And so if they see you or hear you talking unkindly about yourself, they start doing the same thing. They start criticizing themselves. And which is just I think the best motivator to to do your inner work because you'd never want your precious little human to ever think negatively about themselves because they're amazing and you love them and
Exactly.
even when they're coughing in your face and keeping you up all night. It was
What's that
like,
like?
what? Whose child ever does that? It's like you still love them to pieces because they're wonderful just as they are, right? They don't have to do anything to earn that love, to earn your devotion and kindness. And you're gonna at times you'll suppress your own needs to take care of them because they can't take care of themselves, right? But it's also this like balance of like, and you also get care and support so that you can take rest and, reach out to people so that you can have moments or, you know, if they're napping and they're good and they're happy, then you go and you take care of yourself, right? Like you find that dynamic balance, um, so that
And it all
it's not
adds,
an all or none thing,
yes.
And even with adults, right? Like you have relationships and you're relating to each other, so there's this balance of needs and independence and interdependence and sort of the negotiating of that is part of living with other humans, right?
Mhm.
But when the fundamental nature of the relationship is based on kindness, then a lot of that is easier, because taking time to take care of yourself for people who genuinely love you and support you, they just are like, yeah, go do that because I know you need to take care of yourself. And then when you're done that, I'm gonna go and do my thing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
wonderful.
And a
Amazing.
reminder to remind yourself that, especially at the beginning, but also maybe it'll be like this for a while if you're taking care of people, it might not feel like much or even like enough, but starting out with a few minutes at a time, just here and there, a few minutes a day. And then maybe it can be a few minutes twice a day. And maybe it can be three times, just a few minutes a day, because it's practicing for one thing. For me, that's how I practice. That's how it builds the skill. And also for me, it all adds up over time, like you were saying. So it's the skill practice adds up over time, but also the layers of kindness, even little bits at a time, even one statement at a time in the middle of a, inner critic judgment storm is something. It's one little tiny bit of light that starts to get in, and it will add up, even if it's just a few minutes a day right before you go to sleep or
Yeah.
something more
And
than you
then
realize.
yeah, I agree. It is like doing the practice, like and it's a lot of the internal practice
Yeah.
and then also taking actions that demonstrate, that prove kindness to your inner littles, right? Like the little
Yeah.
child inside that needs that care. And then on top of that, is, you know, also offering kindness to all parts of yourself, including the shame gremlins, including the inner critic and the ego and all of these parts, as you still offer kindness to them because fundamentally they're you, right?
Yes.
Like they're the wounded part. It's like if you offer kindness to the wound, it's not that you're agreeing with what it's saying. What you're saying is like, "Oh, I see how much you're hurting. That must be really exhausting. How can I comfort you?" And it's like this, and it shifts the inner realm. So when you see the shame gremlin come up of like, "I'm not being kind enough to myself. I should beat myself up about that." It's like, "Oh, wait, I'm gonna be kind to the part of me that isn't kind at all
Yeah,
to me."
that's the part that needs space. And it's amazing
Yeah.
how if you just give it that space,
Yeah.
you acknowledge what it says and then you give it love, how much that alone can shift.
Yeah. And also inner boundaries too, because kindness is also boundaries. Is like, you
Yes.
can't talk to me that way. You know?
Yes.
I don't let other people talk to me that way. I'm not gonna talk like you're not allowed to talk. You can be
Yeah.
here and I can love you, but you have to be kind. And if you can't be
Yes.
kind, then we're gonna have to figure this out, right? Like there's a boundary there, right?
Mhm. I find it can
Hold the
help with
inside.
your yes, that's important also. I find with the inner critic, for me, it has also helped to try to remind myself to get curious about why this part of me, the various shadow parts, are being so hard on me. Because for me, it mostly has boiled down to trying to protect me in some way. It was a adaptive behavior pattern learned at some point to protect me from external sources. So it just needs love. If you see it that way, when I see it that way, it's also much easier to find that love and compassion rather than fighting fire with fire. Because I'm seeing, oh, you're just trying to protect me and keep me safe from someone saying that externally. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to love you.
Mhm.
We'll switch that tape around.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. And every little drop makes a big difference. Thank you, everybody, for listening up to this point. If you would like a Reiki session, we do that here at Luna Holistic. I've also written a book about the Reiki ideals called The Secret. What is it?
The secret art of happiness.
The Secret Art of Happiness. We'll keep that in. The Secret Art of Happiness: Change Your Life with the Reiki Ideals. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, um,
It'll be in the show notes and on our website.
it's there. It's on Amazon. You can buy it. And there's also a kindness meditation that we will link in the description to the show notes. And most of all, that you are a wonderful being of light and you deserve all the kindness and compassion in the world. And we invite you to be extra kind to yourself this week and the next week and the next week and the one after that. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Kyla, for being here. And until next time, bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Luna Holistic Podcast. We're so grateful that you are here. If you've got a question, we'd love to hear from you. Go to lunaholistic.com/podcast and we'll answer you in an upcoming episode. Be sure to subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And also please rate, because you never know where your little 5 stars will go to shine light into somebody's heart today. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.